Hello, everyone! Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Weekend Frivolity. See if this YouTube page is working. To the RationalInvestor. Party. Alright, looks like we got a good 20, 30 people here today. So hopefully we'll have a fun conversation. It is, of course, Sunday. Fortunately, as you can see, Seward is basically taking the whole year, 2021, working away on his master plan to try and get the DI index up and running. So keep your fingers crossed, but still no data yet to work with. But one of these days he'll hit the end objective. I hope. Keep fingers crossed. Do think that I guess I don't need the camera on here. Let's see if we can turn that off. Bosh. Oh, there's Kevin Stewart's picture. There we go. Well, I guess that's about the biggest I can make the screen. Hello, Jay. Hello, Nick. Hello, Ray. Edward. Josh been just killing it with the tweets of late. It's been a lot of fun watching him tweet out stuff. He had a really crazy picture he was kicking around the site. He wanted to turn into an NFT, but I don't know if he did that. Look at all this. It's so fun just going through the TRI PMA feed now and just reading everything Josh is putting together here. It's a lot of fun. So great job on that, Josh. He was kicking around a really cool, it's kind of a fun image here in the lounge this morning. I think it was in the lounge. I think I just got to show you. It's so cool. He wants to NFT these things. Look at this. This is so cool. You got Kavarkinator. He's down as 88.6. That might be Leprechavarkinator. Don't want to leave Ian out. Jesse James, trading at 78.6. That's a character. Actually, I've seen James on the site more often of late, which is really cool. His uranium stocks are finally coming back. Mountain Man, Brian Arrigo, one of the best crude oil traders I ever worked with. Fantastic trader. Absolutely hated Alan Greenspan with a passion and all the banksters. WD Gann. Not quite sure how we get WD Gann, the privilege of having Mr. Gann in our lives and part of our corral. But of course, and actually we had this really funny WD Gann gift that we were putting out years ago where, the Doge coin, the sunglasses would come on. Again, that's a hilarious one. Maybe I'll even attach that image. Just deal with it. And actually, I think Bitcoin put in a perfect WD Gann 50% tag and then rallied right off of it. A little bit early, if anything. I'm thinking that WD Gann wants us to have one more dip to the downside before we go face ripping up here. But, we'll see what happens. Colin over on Hero, if I understand correctly, man, those guys are having a lot of fun. The Magnus people, just having a good old time in crypto and DeFi. Of course, my roommate Andrew is sort of in with that crowd, so every once in a while I get to hear some of the fun stories the Magnus people are up to. But if I understand correctly, they're having a lot of fun in the market. And I watched Colin's broadcast the other day. I mean, he does it so much better, and I suppose at some point I got to get the damn camera up and put my face and stuff on. I just I'm not really a narcissistic person, so if anything I would almost prefer that you don't see my face, because what's ironic about a guy like me is I have a relatively young appearance, so my entire time in the financial services industry is people go, oh wow, you look a hell of a lot younger than I was expecting. My whole damn life. So if anything, I prefer just to keep the camera off and you guys just listen to what I say, because the shit that I spout, it works. And we've made guys like Colin They bought the punch, and I think it'd be interesting to see how Jesse, good old James, is doing. And Kavarkinator, it'd be interesting to see where Kavarkinator's ended up these days. Hopefully he's doing okay in life. So anyway, kind of a fun image. These are the kind of fun things that I suppose TRIers do for fun in their pastime. And Josh just bringing it. I mean, I gotta say, man, Josh is just over the top. This is our latest idea that we're thinking about adding to the TRI swag department. I don't know. It's a fascinating image, and yeah, could that'd be kind of cool. Mind you, all the people in Spanish world, part of the world, they would know what that means, and they'd be like, "Oh, that's a bit cheeky." Mind you, they kind of like that, though, right? I mean, like up here in Canada, the white male species is literally, I think you get your chastity cage literally the day you graduate from high school in this country now. But I think the sort of Spanish population, I don't know how the I wouldn't mind living in that kind of environment for a few years just to see what society is like. But I think that sort of Spanish bravado, male sort of machismo kind of stuff, I think that's still alive in those countries. But man, you'd probably get into absolute horrible politically correctness, she session and stuff like that. If you wore a t-shirt and had Muwak written in there, oh boy, that would be incredibly politically incorrect in my country. But nonetheless, great content Josh is putting together. And it looks like Josh has got the swag department up and running again. So I guess this is it. This is just one item. I know we did have another swag shop up and running. I don't know how that went, but maybe we could combine the two. I don't know. But it looks like Josh is already pumping these things out. Go figure. Way to go, Josh. Maybe you could reach out to Kevin, or maybe I could reach out to him. I don't know. We can just see whether we can somehow merge them. That would be real. Oh, great. Thanks. And Josh, you're so awesome. I mean, I'm such a doofus. I would imagine people get sick and tired of talking to me. But I would imagine Kevin would love to talk to you. You're a nice guy. Very good karma. That's the one thing I really like about this site. Just the people are just so cool. Much, much better people than I am. So if anything, I'm super, super privileged to be able to hang with all you guys. Thank heavens you guys put up with me as much as you do. So, these Sunday shows, if anything, hopefully you've had the opportunity to check in on our Wednesday show, because I think the Wednesday show is our sort of very specific, we go through specific charts and ideas, and I think Nick is going to turn into an incredible crypto commentator down the road. You can just sort of see it. It's in his blood. So I don't know whether he's ready for it or not, but if he wants it, it's there for him. Also, too, we have Derek and Ben. Derek, of course, dealing with the little ones right now, so I hope things are going okay with him there. And Ben, our goal is, of course, to make Ben famous. Ben cough checks, the whole thing. So this Sunday show, I originally sort of planned it, and I suppose, here's the chicken moniker. I guess that's me talking right now, eh? But this Sunday show is really supposed to be to speak to the level 1 audience, because it's just so insanely over the top amount of information that between the pre-recorded lectures, which probably are now starting to get a little bit dated and need to be updated. Grim does a 2-3 hour session with the level 1ers Sunday mornings, and actually it's remarkable. I think they're still going now. I don't know when they're done. And then, just in case, just because I've been doing this job forever, if there was something that maybe I could touch on that would help explain things, I can spin the bullshit as good as anybody else. They always say, as soon as they stop taking the bullshit, you switch to the chicken shit. As soon as they stop taking the chicken shit, you switch to the horse shit. As soon as they stop taking the horse shit, you switch to the pig shit. So between all of these messages, hopefully we get something that sticks. All right, so I don't know whether that class is out. We do have sort of a follow-up Q&A. You can see there's a couple questions that people have asked. Now, I wouldn't mind making sure that these questions are answered. But I think I probably want to wait till that level 1 class is actually done before we jump into these. So if somebody can tell me, I know Shark Toshi, he's the sort of lead TA there in the level 1 program now. So maybe he can let me know when the level 1's done, or any of you level 1ers, if you can just bark at me. Until I hear that, why don't we go and we'll just do a bit of overall analysis and see if there's anything of value I can tell you here. Latter part of the I guess the fall of I guess we're officially into fall now, eh? Yeah, fall officially started back there. So fall officially started 2 weeks ago. Interesting how right out of the gate of that start of fall, prices rallied smartly here. So they don't call it the fall just because prices go down. I think I've told you guys, I know it sounds pretty bizarre, but I actually like the idea that we're in a 4-year blow-off top cycle for Bitcoin and the crypto space. And it's kind of like, think of the 4-year business cycle, that kind of stuff. I do like the idea that price could go a little bit insane here into the end of the year. It wouldn't surprise me. Unfortunately, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's value, and if anything, I think it's a huge hallmark of the free market that you are able to spend your money freely on whatever assets you want to buy. I think that, for the banking industry and the people that work in the financial services industry, this is their bread and butter. They don't really do anything in this world. They are nothing more than middlemen. So how do they afford the fancy houses and all that? There's a famous historical quote where a guy was touring through France and he happened to stumble upon this estate that was being built, and he made the comment, gee whiz, kings couldn't live like this. This place must belong to a Rothschild. So how do they make that kind of money to actually be able to live better lifestyles than kings? And the answer is price volatility. Here's a perfect analogy of it, and it kills me because I constantly make reference to it. And I will. It'll be I bet you if I do speaking engagements 10, 20 years from now, I'm going to be making reference to this clear and utter fuck up on my part. Excuse my French. That's why these videos are not public recommended for children, because I have a bit of a potty mouth. Just too bad. If I could get rid of the potty mouth, then maybe we could monetize these things and really actually start making some money with these feeds. Right now, we don't make any money off of this crap at all, so it's just Brian ranting. But I don't know, maybe one day I'll grow up. Anyway, perfect analogy. We did our research. We knew that the banking industry loved Bitcoin. We knew that the Rothschilds bought Bitcoin at $1,000 themselves. They even made it publicly, public disclosure. So you can't even argue that the banksters didn't even tell you that they were getting in. They told you that they were getting in big time. And I remember last cycle, I made very, very specific reference to that. And that was basically, you knew that this thing was given sort of the green light when the Rothschilds publicly come out and say, yes, we are buying. But this is a bank that was basically established to service cryptocurrencies in the California market. And you tell me, is the market like that? That was $7 a share. We were long. And I felt all proud of myself for selling all of it at $14 a share. Doofus. This is why you sell halves on doubles, because at the end of this stupid move, I think this bank stock is going to be a good $300 a share. $7 to $300. All right, you do the math. How many X's is that? This is the number one reason why I don't think things like socialism are going to take over in the West. The banks own this system. And what's so funny is that the banks have basically got everybody up to their ears in debt right now. And actually, it was interesting. I even went to a local donut shop, coffee shop here locally in Canada. And this is going to be terrible. I said it to them when I was in the restaurant. And I even said, oh, my God, please forgive me when I say this. But wow. Today's actually technically a holiday in my country. It's Canadian Thanksgiving. And really, I think the holiday's tomorrow. But the owners of the, and this, I won't mention the name of the franchise just so we don't get in trouble there. But I went in there and there were 3 white guys working in there. And they were all sort of like my age. And I'm like, what's going on here? This is not the Vancouver I know. They're like, well, and it was like 7 o'clock on a Sunday morning. I mean, it's absolutely dead. And actually, I completely forgot because Liam and I live in our funny little world where, holidays don't even really mean anything anymore. But I was chatting with them. I was quite surprised that that they were working there this morning. But they were telling me, and it was interesting because I think it's a perfect anecdote of what's going on in our society. We all know that the banksters, of course, are resetting the currency system. You had to know that this was coming. The baby boomers just completely, every single politician since fucking Tricky Dick, basically blatantly lying to us and puppets of the banks. And there's not really a hell of a lot we can do. In fact, actually, I would say it goes all the way back to Woodrow Wilson. And, FDR sort of made a deal with the devil with the banks to get the economy going again. But in essence, basically the banks took over after the Federal Reserve Act in 1913. But this is an analogy of the free market. There's no way that this could happen if this wasn't a free market. And so this image right here is the number one reason why you hear guys like Jerome Powell going, we don't have any plans to ban Bitcoin. We don't have any plans to ban cryptocurrencies. Of course not. They're making fortunes. Just think about the onboarding process of classic American business into accepting cryptocurrencies and adoption. And basically, these companies have been created as those conduits. And you tell me, if anybody bought the IPO story, or even when the damn thing based, how would they be feeling right now? They'd be feeling pretty damn good. This is not socialism. This is not MMT. This is pure, good old-fashioned capitalism. And, of course, the banks are running the system. Are they socialist by nature? Absolutely not. The exact opposite. They're die-hard capitalists. Think of It's a Wonderful Life in Potterville, right? That's Jerome Powell in reality. That the old crotchety guy that is going to poop on everybody's head. So anyway, there's your backdrop. And I think this is going much, much higher. And interesting, we're all conjecturing about Bitcoin going to 100 G's, whatever. This stock is telling us, and they always say that stocks always lead commodities. So in a weird sort of way, this stock with all these bottoms down here, beautiful bot setup, it's going, rock and roll. It's kind of already telling us that, hey, yeah, you should expect Bitcoin's going to go a hell of a lot higher. So that's kind of an interesting anecdote. Somebody said that the level 1ers are done. So what I thought I'd just do, we'll just do a quick overview. I think I grabbed a new chart. Yeah, so, what are we sort of seeing out of the market here right now? And it in hindsight, of course, sounds like a broken record. When you're in real time, of course, it's only next to impossible. But bottom line here is, and I just keep barking about it over and over and over and over. I had the privilege. He's a great guy, far better human than I ever will be. Good old Kavarkanator publicly, told everybody at TRI that he was stepping in and he was going to buy this 88.6, around $3,000-$4,000 on that dump, and he did. I mean, this is really, I tell you guys that my wife visited me after she passed, and she said, Brian, you can make a real positive difference in the world. And it's basically teaching, Kevin as just one example, is basically just teaching all of you to do this. But that's the buy on crypto. And I remember when this event happened, I mean, people were shitting their pants. And there was even one guy I was talking to the other day who said he actually sold everything here and got the hell out of the market. Ouch. I mean, what you do with your plan, can you force yourself to come in and buy against bottom ends or ranges? That's up to you and your plan, your maturation as a trader, blah, blah, blah. But, let's not bullshit about this. All right? Let's just not bullshit about this. Is this the bottom of the market, or is this the bottom of the market? And we know what the answer is. Don't bullshit yourself. You're coming in, basically midstream here. And then, of course, the worst part about it is when you have like newfound celebrities who actually say that they are special needs and they actually have an inability to appropriately communicate with other human beings, giving financial advice. Oh my God, this is disaster waiting to happen. So what a surprise. And the worst part about it too, that this was also the Coinbase IPO. So, and that's what I think that this top was that this was a whole pump up to get that Coinbase IPO done. And it was just staggering amounts of money. Absolutely staggering amounts of money. So I think there was really good learning information here. And then also too, fantastic learning information when you go on social media and people are like, technical analysis doesn't matter. Just don't worry about M's or W's. Just buy and you're guaranteed to make money. When you start hearing people talk like that, it means we're probably getting closer to the end than the beginning. And just have some patience. It's damn difficult in this game of investing and speculating and stuff in the market. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. It's not easy. But I will say, and quite often, the people that are here and ready to pull the trigger in here like that, they were watching through all of this, and they were patient and just waiting for the moment when they got like an RLZ within an RLZ, because that's their trading plan. And whenever I get that, basically that's a big honking triangle, and I got to get long there. And then, if you want to just wait for the breakout, big honking weekly W's, well, that's where I got to get long. I didn't really like that trade, but that's just me. That's coming late. This, of course, was the trade. Maybe you can't do it on Bitcoin. I mean, I missed this trade, which sucks horse cogs, but yeah, that's just the way it goes. I was fortunate enough to be able to zip in off of this guy here. Again, this is the same stuff that we teach students. Come in, buy that mountain man level, and actually get a double off. So just even in that summer swing, I was able to zip in on the long side, zip out, and get myself a nice risk-free position through that summer rally. So that's kind of what I did. But can I come in and buy up here? That's awfully tough. Awfully tough. I suppose looking back in hindsight, where is the buy on Ethereum? Well, clearly it's this big honking, kind of sloppy, maybe a triple bottom, but wow, what a base. And I even remember getting together with people, and this is the hardest part of investing. It's the absolute hardest part, is at this point in the market, when we've been going down forever. And actually, this is actually a really good example of a LJ setup that we had. I don't know whether Leanne even likes using trend lines anymore. But we had a setup we named after her because she did like it to begin with. Where I'm going to let this trend line be broken, but the break of the trend line is not a trade. Let the trend line be broken, and I think I've told you guys before, this is a fantastic example where sometimes a market will break the trend line and then literally walk down the other side of the trend line from the top side. So the people that go, hey, I'm going to buy this W because it's breaking the trend line and it is a W, boom, see you later. And then if you didn't have the patience and discipline to get out when this thing broke, you better be a little old lady kind of idea, because if you risk some size, you might actually lose your whole account through this liquidation, all that kind of stuff. So point here is that, you draw your trend lines and then notice, hey, look, that kind of looks like a big honking W that guy says. Just wait for the damn W's to come in on the other side. And then you can also see an even bigger W, right? So this is what, the sharpshooters, and I suppose this could even be a Kavarkanator down here, that kind of big dump against those lows. I don't know. That's the kind of stuff, but we're not in that kind of environment. This is the investing window. And what was fascinating was when we were going through this process here, of course, you couldn't give this stuff away. Everybody was still licking their wounds because the public, of course, came in and buy all through here. And they're buying, and then they're like, okay, yeah, this got to hold. And then we, really puke out. Keep in mind, this is like right there, that's $400 or $500 all the way down to $100. So this is even like an 80% crash, even from these levels. And the public is completely decimated. Well, and I don't know whether you remember, we did a video with Da Vinci back at this point, and we just simply said, the statistical odds of Ethereum going back to this $750, very, very high. Test the old highs. The funny thing is now with all these W's, you can start doing Foggin bombs. This is sort of a new tool that we're going to add to our toolkit here. I don't know where the high is. It's like that. Right, so 877s, there's 16 way up there. Probably even a better Foggin bomb is to go off of like this low, all the way back up top there. Yeah, there you go. So 2.618 lines up perfectly with 50%, lines up with those highs. So, this is the hardest part of this stupid game. Is when the asset corrects and I would even just say, you know what, just mark down. If an asset corrects 80% of its previous peak, it's probably at or near a bottom. So, 88.6, 78.6, that's in this range here. You can see this one, technically it went down almost like 95% from its peak. It happens. Notice how, though, the W, it's time to come in, basically off that 88.6. And I've often found when I look back over time that the bottom, you look back over time, it comes in off of that 78.6. But fascinating, through this window here, couldn't give this stuff away. Could not give it away. So, are you here to make money from trading? Are you here to be a typical public participant? The worst part about the conversations at this part of the cycle is, now is when the public is getting interested. We look at a price chart like this and we go, holy but Jesus, this is riskier than risky. I mean, it's very, very risky. But that doesn't mean that this thing can't just go chung, 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 right? And just keep going higher and higher and higher and drive you crazy. The problem is, though, is can a professional come in and actually, quote unquote, invest here? I don't think so. So that's the type of market we're in. And, you know, what happens in this kind of market is you get into, you know what? Technical analysis doesn't matter. To hell with the W. Screw that, right? And the damn thing just goes up and up and up and up. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the floor just falls out of the market. And I might even argue that if we do get like an event like, not that one. We got an event like this. Nope, not that. This. I would imagine by the end of this move, you guys are going to be like, technical analysis doesn't matter. Look at what just happened, Brian. Why am I going to bother waiting for reload zones? When you just go in and buy, and you know eventually the damn thing goes up and you make money. So I can see it. I can see the writing on the walls. This is a very difficult, because you know what's going to end up happening, and I saw this last cycle. I couldn't believe it. You actually get people that come on sites like TRI. They'll take the level 1 course, and they'll sort of be okay. You know, like last cycle, we had some girl come on. She was like a total NLP kind of girl, if you know what those people are like. Literally copied every single thing on the site, word for word. And then mysteriously, like a month or so later, she all of a sudden had a course on how to be a professional cryptocurrency trader. And the worst part about it, of course, is it was such a beautiful anecdote at the top of the market. Literally, she was shilling her course and writing her course through this. And as long as the market's going ape shit up, she probably gets tons and tons of business. Lots of likes and subscribes and all that on YouTube. Then the market rolls over, and like I said, now, I don't know whether I told you guys, but I think in the Daily Brief I said recently, I actually went and did a concerted search to try and figure out what happened to this person, and I literally can't find any reference whatsoever to this person anymore. Like, completely gone. And no cryptocurrency references at all or anything like that. And yet the irony of it all is if she had just put herself on a dollar cost averaging plan, done the, you know, little old lady typical investment, says 3 to 5 year time horizon. The funny thing is if you actually bought crypto here in, let's say, December of 2017, 3 to 5 year time horizon, the broker is actually calling you December 2020. Well, what a surprise. Price is perking up. There is the 3 years, and literally this investment has all the way to December 2022 to work. You know, that's 3 to 5 year time horizon. It's a pretty damn big window. So, you know, if anybody even bought through here and just followed the, hey, I'm a little old lady, I'm just going to put a little bit of money into this and just let it work, they should be sitting on a risk-free trade now, even if you bought the top of the market there. But it just clearly shows that a lot of people that did this, they were not actual little old ladies. They were watching the screen 24/7, and as soon as they started to see the position go against them, they got chicken shit, they booked the loss, and then they forgot about crypto. I mean, that's just the way capitalism goes. And it doesn't matter whether it's crypto, whether it's battery stocks, whether it's alternative fuel stocks, or whether it's electric car maker stocks. I mean, they're all the same. It's just human psychology. So, you know, I mean, same sort of analogy here. I mean, I can't tell whether, I mean, let's call a spade a spade. This might just be one big honking top. And if the market fails against these highs and goes through these lows, well, you know, what are we supposed to say when the market starts smiling at us? I mean, you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, pull your ego out of your butt and just be real. Does anybody have a crystal ball that works? Paul, you got a crystal ball? Paul was the guy who actually at the bottom of the market. He says, that was me. Paul was the guy selling all of his crypto. So evidently Paul's crystal ball doesn't work. So let's not listen to Paul's advice. No offense, sir. Nobody has a crystal ball that works. I mean, I hate the fact that there's people that literally sit there and go, I can predict the future. I know what's going to happen. Oh, come on. I tell you, this is the type of environment, and like I said, there's some names. In fact, Andy was showing me a name that he's trading with his group. I can't remember what the symbol is off the top of my head, but the damn thing's gone up like 1,000x over the past month. I mean, there is shit moving up. Don't get me wrong. There's a bull market always somewhere, and really, I might argue that until this actually does M out and roll over, and we'll all feel it when it happens, it'll be as plain as day. But until that actual happens, I think actually a lot of the junior space could enjoy these, kind of, where it feels to me like over the next 6 months, we're in one of those BitConnect kind of environments. So, people that got in on the Ponzi scheme on BitConnect at the bottom, wow, did they ever make a lot of money. And, of course, the people that bought the top of BitConnect, believing all these wonderfully promised yields and stuff, they got left bag holding and eventually lost their money. So what that says to me is this is an awesome environment for... where I want to show you. Not there. Maybe it's over here. Let's see. These kind of guys. Like Sjord's Crazy Luna. I mean, I don't know whether there's going to be some sort of scandal or something that brings this thing to an end. Why did the market top out here and dump? Well, because that was, if I understand correctly, that was sort of Luna's first scandal. And there's another one on the site that we were following, LTO. It had a big old run. Why did the thing absolutely collapse? Well, a scandal. The LTO people were caught doing something that they really shouldn't have. So I don't really see, and I'm not that ear to the ground on Luna. I don't see scandal just yet. As well, too, if I understand correctly, things like this Solana. Again, I don't see scandal just yet. We don't even really have that much price history here to work with. I would be really surprised if this went and M'd out and dumped. I don't think we're anywhere near there just yet. My hunch is this thing, it might even go up and test those old highs. But just for the time being, I think that this is a trading range, top of the range, bottom of the range. We're just going to zing, 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 zing through here. But I don't hear any scandals. Usually, it's the scandals that usually bring this to an end. BitConnect, right? BitConnect came in. It was the big scandal that stopped the market up top in 17-18. It was just one of the. And, I get, what I'm hearing a lot of? I'm hearing, oh my God, over-the-top excitement about NFTs. And I get the impression NFTs, that's a little bit of an old story. I don't know what the actual value proposition of these things is other than sort of perceived value. Also, too, I listened to, and no offense, but I listened to a podcast, I think that's what they call them, YouTube, whatever. People that are very respected in the music industry, and of course, if you've ever seen the way the music industry works down in the States, I'm sure it also is the same in Canada. They love to sort of kind of like grandstand, love to drop names, super important, they have their own sort of look, and then, very, almost like a brand. Problem with that is that there's no value in any of that. It's all just fluff. And of course, somebody says the wrong thing, like a Beamish says, swears or makes a politically incorrect comment, and all of that equity just gone. Obviously they're much better adept at spinning the story, but there's no value in any of that. It's all just hype, hip hop hype. Well, hip hop, but I'm just gonna say hype. So my hunch is after the hype of this wears off, most of these NFT kind of names and stuff, they're all just going to go right back to the bottom. And if anything, what should end up happening is, we have an expression on the site. Let's see if anybody can finish it. The longer the something, the bigger the something. So if we actually want to invest in something and expect to make those massive gains, what we really want to look for is assets that have just gone dormant and are just sitting sideways in a range for a very long period of time. Those are the assets that can go absolutely apeshit to the upside. Very much like the Doge story. I think one of the reasons why Doge did what it did, and really what I want to show you is like really longer term history. This one might, yeah. I mean, look how long that relative channel is. This is going back to like 2014, 15. I mean, that's a long bloody channel. This is the ideal scenario when you're investing, is you want to try and find ideas that are doing this, right? And of course, W's and stuff. We had a simple rule on Doge. Doge is a buy when it's below 40 sats. And actually, the longest time it was even 30 sats. Because even here, you could say, right? I mean, beautiful channel. This is where you're going to make your fortunes. Find these ideas that are making these channels like this. I can understand that the ICO market and what's really hot. And what I also like, too, is the conversation that things like SOL and Luna and stuff, they're actually whole networks. And so every time something new is added to the network, oh boy, here comes a whole bunch of new money. So as long as you keep hearing these stories being built out, well, I think, you're, as you can see here, I think it's pretty obvious. Went through a nice little consolidation window here. Whether you use that high as your highest high for trend line analysis, as long as you're on the other side of this trend line, this nice consolidation, getting ready to rock and roll, I don't mind you hunting in here. Especially on nice little double bottom in volume. Beautiful uppy across all the indicators, especially if you went back probably on a daily chart down in there. Yeah, so right in here. Boom. Even right, something like that. So any kind of W over here with positive momentum, it's not a terrible idea. So maybe, something like this, maybe just going to have to let it sit and simmer for a bit. Let these trend lines be broken. Let W's come in on the other sides of trend lines. There's no hurry. And the worst part about this, right, is if you go and push, right, I think I showed you a name earlier, you might find that it breaks the trend line and then it just walks down this trend line from the other side. So there's no hurry here, folks. Just let it naturally happen. And if this thing's a bull, it'll happen, and woohoo, away we go. This one, look at that. I mean, the cool part about this, is there anything I like when I say weekly W's? Does Brian like weekly W's? Maybe we'll start with that. Just a nice, easy layup question for you. Does Brian like weekly W's? I mean, the answer should be pretty obvious. This is one that Chico Crypto was touting a while ago. And beautiful. Look at that base. Woo-wee. This is kind of one where I wouldn't even have a problem. I'm already long from this level, but you want to work some stink bids off of Kavarkinator levels and stuff like that? That's not a bad idea at all. Notice there's your reload zone, and there is the original bottom. So do you think that's an accident? Look at this tail right in here, right? Any price got into this area, and the buyers just absorbed all selling. And then, of course, what a beautifully powerful candle. So you can totally tell. Nice little institutional fingerprint right there in that tail. Any bears that sold in here, if we get a dip back down in here, I bet they go and buy that stuff back right away. So, great looking chart. Love those weekly W's. You know what I say, there's always a bull somewhere. I was, watching this little one here. It's trying. Oh no, maybe not off the weekly chart yet. I thought I saw something. Yeah, well, actually, it was up quite a bit earlier this morning. Not so much now. I think I noticed. Was it these ones? I think it was this one. No, well, they all look like shit. Shitcoins just not ready. They're just not ready to go yet. A little disappointed. Shitcoins just haven't done anything. Picked up some of this Verge recently. Just not doing much. I think I noticed somebody over there mentioned XDN, good old Quacker. The only problem I have with these kind of names is I don't like when they're this vulnerable. Take your shot. If you got the wallet, maybe download then. Just put the coins right on, just take them completely right off the market. I don't know whether we used to call these duck notes. I'm not quite sure what the hell they're calling it now. Digital note. Is this thing still live? Is it still a valid blockchain? Because if I understand correctly, the price is almost like nothing, 2 sats, and it almost died there. Be forewarned, folks. This is capitalism. This thing might just go right off the board. Get used to it. It's the way it goes. Full disclosure, I did go and pick some up on the test of these lows here. If this thing is for real and it survives, then fucking A. It's got a world of potential here. But this is half the problem with investing in crypto, and especially these centralized exchange stories. Is this being kept alive because maybe there's a couple principles on Trex that's long a bunch of this shit? I don't know. I've told you before. This is unregulated space. I've seen sites like Trex do some funny business in the past. There's no guarantees in any of this. This is, as a stock broker, you say to people, well, if you're going to invest in stock, equity, that's on the pretty much the riskiest part of the risk spectrum. This makes equity investing look low risk. This is insanely risky. And especially with the fact that this thing's only listed on one exchange and then on DeFi, very, very dangerous. I would not be surprised if names like this do not make it. So just be forewarned. You want to get the fuck out of here because you just, why am I even bothering with this nonsense garbage? Fine by me. They don't call them shit coins for nothing. But, we have to understand capitalism. The guys that are going to make the biggest bucks, they have the balls to step in and buy the shit at like 1 or 2 sats. And the damn thing does survive and it goes crazy. You have the patience and discipline just to have it in your account and just manage the situation. And if it does go crazy ape shit upside, well, you get stinking rich. That's more a commentary on risk management than it is on whether this thing is actually a legitimate idea. And frankly speaking, I don't even think you can use the word investment. Investment doesn't even make any sense with this stuff. This is total speculation. You're going to the horse track. Do you invest in a horse race? No. It's just pure speculation. Oh, the same thing here. Would be interesting to actually get somebody who's actually on the inside of this story, like one of the original coin developers, just to actually give us an update on whether this thing's even for real or not. This thing might just be dead. So, just be forewarned, right? This is crypto. A lot of these names. I mean, my account over on Trex had at the very top probably, I don't know, maybe about 300 or 400 coins on it. That's probably been cut in half. Half of those names, Trex has just decided, well, we don't want you on the exchange anymore. Is it because the entire story was a fraud to begin with? Could be. Is it because Trex was being funneled kickback money to keep them alive on the exchange? And that kickback income stopped, and so as a result, Trex said, well, see you later. It's impossible to comment on that. And the sad part about that kind of stuff is that us in the public, we only find out the real story behind this stuff well after the fact. I used to always joke with people, are you trading the fundamentals or the known fundamentals? Especially in crypto, who knows what the actual real fundamentals are on half of these stories. There's the story that the public hears, but that might not be reality. Since this is an unregulated space, caveat emptor. So, am I going to be pounding the table? Oh, yeah, this is an easy no-brainer. Yeah, you got lots of money here. Well, no. Am I going to say, well, if you got a couple bucks and you go and pick some up at 2 sats, what are the statistical odds that if you just do nothing and you work an open order at, say, 4 sats, what are the statistical odds of that jumping up and filling you at 4 sats and giving you a risk-free trade? And then, if it does perform great, wonderful, everybody gets rich. Just to get that risk-free trade going. Yeah, it's probably worth taking a shot. You want to wait for the internals to start Wing out? Give you a little bit more confidence in the trade idea? Sure. But you might find that the process of this all Wing out and looking better is this thing coming, maybe this is some sort of like inverted head and shoulders kind of thing, right? Where it does that. So, ironically enough, buying at 2 and selling at 4, there is your double window, and it is part of the entire bottoming process. Also, too, this is probably a really good analogy of risk management. You come in here and you're like, okay, well, I'll throw 1 or 2% of my portfolio at this thing, and it's just not doing anything, and it's just sitting there. Try not to get sucked into, hey, I'll buy a little bit more. Hey, I'll buy a little bit more. Hey, I'll buy a little bit more. And you look down and you got like 7, 8, 9% of your portfolio in this thing. Don't fall into that trap, folks. Rule number 2 is never, ever, ever risk more than 5% of your stake on any one single investment idea. And this is the kind of thing where even 5% might be a little too much. Maybe you just limit it, cap it at like 2.5%. And look at it, I'm just not putting any more into this thing. There's plenty of cryptocurrencies to buy out there. You do not have to buy this one. That's for sure. So anyway, somebody did mention the Quacker here a few minutes ago there on the YouTube page, so I thought I just ought to speak about that. This is a good example that the shitcoins, and I got a bunch of them. I did this shitcoin 5,000 challenge. It's just not their market right now. And the old expression, you can't push a chain. I mean, I do like these. Could this CRW, could it pop up into this area and give us RW? In a heartbeat. It could do that easily. But you can't push a chain. You just can't do it. It's impossible. So, if it goes, it goes. And you could always buy on a stop above that level and risk that W. There's nothing wrong with that. I think we also probably have the same setup happened here, and they would be risking to a move below that low. And notice, look how we came right back against that low and then just stopped. So, but there's no guarantees in any of this shit. Play your W's. They're like 60, 70%. Actually, the more I look at this, and I was looking at it earlier, I was a little surprised to see it down there a few minutes ago. I mean, it sure looks good. Got a nice little bull div coming in here. Willie actually got stupidly oversold. Don't really have a W in RSI yet, but nice little bull div there in MACD. And it looks like the buyers are coming back here even today, right? Little perk up. We got a bit more buying come in. That W comes in. I could easily see a rally there. But it's not there yet. I mean, a lot of these is just like, blah, hurry up and just do nothing. And that might, it'd be interesting if you're in like Discord groups and if you're in like chat rooms with guys who've been in crypto since like 2012, 2013. That might be an interesting hallmark of this particular crypto cycle. How did the altcoin market do through this? I remember I bought my first altcoin right in this flurry back in 13. And ironically enough, back just as we got back to the 2020 peak, I guess here, I originally bought the shitcoin. I guess it was back here. I think it was called UTC or something like that. So I bought it here, and it didn't get back to break even until we actually got to here. It was right at this point. I looked over on Polo. I think it was Polo. I had it, and I saw the symbol, and I go, "Oh, son of a gun! Look at that! I'm just actually getting back to scratch on this shitcoin." So we might find that the shitcoins just don't do a hell of a lot through here, and it's this kind of part of the maybe 8-year cycle that the shitcoins really outperform. I don't know. We'll see. Great part about the market, right, is it's always evolving. It's never dull. Always different things going on. Never the same story twice. So it's just really a question of, can you manage your own behavior as we sort of muddle our way through this. Okay, let's go look at those Q&A documents, see if there's anything I was supposed to talk about here today. Whoa, look at that. All right, so I think I was blabbing away for an hour there. Okay, so the first question. In previous discussions, Brian mentioned he is US dollar bullish for the coming years. Yeah, well, I mean, that's the fear-greed cycle I teach you. Does that indicate a deflation, and how does that fit with the demographic generation cycle? So it is this millennials greed cycle. And this should be the first leg of a 20-year period of rising interest rates. So the first of the two 20-year periods is relatively benign. And actually, Johnny Salmon, he was sharing me a really cool longer-term interest rate picture. So let's see if I can show you that. There we are. Boom, boom. So, they're in essence like this. The bottom of the interest rate cycle to the top of the interest rate cycle is about 40 years. I suppose you could even say here, like late 1890s, topped out like, 25 kind of time period. I mean, that's about 30, 35 years. That's sort of my generational cycle. But in the, and hopefully what you see is like ebb and flow, ebb and flow, ebb and flow. My hunch is we're probably going to look something along these lines. So we've come back down. Of course, we're now down in this area. And I think we've actually started to pivot back up. And I mean, the interesting thing is this is so well articulated because it had to, it had the human beings of the world actually had the most rights through this window here. And if anything, I think this makes a lot of sense, because if you think about how we humans act at the ends of these millennia, it's sort of like that's the best life gets. So I think you could make the argument that when Jesus was around, that was the end of that millennial cycle. And I think you could make the argument that the Roman Empire basically went into sort of tailspin, and we didn't really hit the trough of that millennial cycle until about year 500, 600, somewhere in that area. And of course, you had things like the Dark Ages, they called it. Mount Pinatubo theoretically blew up, and 2 or 3 years, the entire planet went dark. King Arthur. The legends around sort of how Great Britain was and society was in sort of the year 700 and stuff. I mean, it was pretty damn nasty. Then, sort of standard of living, life got better into the peak of that particular millennia. And sort of the high watermark, things like the Battle of The Battle of West Hastings, 1066. I think that's what it was, and that was that the Magna Carta? I think that's what it was. But anyway, roughly around that millennial peak. Then you think about we had things like plagues, 12, 1300s. The Turks were going crazy all around the 14th, 15th century. And I think, Western society didn't really pivot until we got to sort of 15th century, and they talk about the Renaissance kicking in. And in essence, we've been living that sort of expansion into the latter part of this 20th century, right? We're, third millennia, if we can think back that far. So it made sense. To me, it makes perfect sense that our society, especially Western society, it sort of peaked right into this millennial window. It makes absolutely perfect sense to me. I guess that's in here. So I might actually argue that we're going to be slowly going through, especially, the next 100, 200 years, regression and sort of taking back a lot of this sort of niceness of our human existence. That doesn't mean that there aren't rich through this. I mean, through all periods of history, there are always the landowners. There is always the 1%. Just the general standard of living of Joe's six-pack. I think we hit sort of a peak. And if you're just collecting wages, if you're just working for the man, punching a clock, I think we hit a bit of a standard of living peak there with that cycle. The international socialism sort of hit its peak. I remember 1980 Olympics, USSR was considered sort of was actually considered sort of like a viable alternative. People actually were questioning the capitalist model. So it doesn't surprise me that interest rates actually on a relative basis went really a little bit too far, too fast. Just because there were so many social pressures, and humans had the most rights, the most working rights, the most benefits, best working conditions, best standard of living, which of course is costly, i.e. higher interest rates. So I don't know whether we're actually even going to see this high watermark for a very, very long time. We might find that our next sort of inflation interest rate cycle looks something like this, where it's actually relatively muted. Maybe we do things like 50% retracements of this range. That would make perfect sense. But basically over the next 10, 15 years, I'm looking for this kind of behavior, sort of that kind of, if you can kind of see the head and shoulders type behavior. And then the next 15, 20 years after that, that will be the spiky part of the cycle. And hopefully I'm not even in the market at that point. I won't even care. I don't want to be around when we go through our next hyperinflation cycle. I mean, a loaf of bread's probably going to be $500 at that point. So, I don't know whether that even helps answer the question. What was the question again? I like, for whatever it's worth, I like us in the West going through a 10 to 15 year period of expansion as the baby boomers have been sort of completely removed from the economy and the millennials sort of take over the economy. I like that thinking. I don't think that the millennials are going to be as impactful as the baby boomers because the society is so heavily laden with debt as it is right now. Economic expansion, the bankers are not letting this bad debt go. That means there will always be that interest payment, and that is going to be a tax on economic growth. So I don't think this cycle is going to be really that overly exciting. The good part about it is through growth periods, there will be assets that are sort of in the focus of high growth, and you should be able to make your millions off of that. But does like the Dow go 10x from here based on, it actually, earnings right across the board for all companies are going to 10x or 100x from here to get that leverage play? I don't think so. I think if anything, and I've said this repeatedly, my theme going forward for Western society is Japanification. So, in that kind of environment, buy when it snows, sell when it goes, the seasonal trade should work fine. Is crypto considered a growth industry? Does anybody know? Are new ideas coming out from crypto? Are people throwing investment capital at crypto? Remember I showed you that crypto bank? That's a bank, right? Boring. That's what the guy who was What's a Wonderful Life, Potter guy, right? He was a banker. How are those assets doing in crypto space? They're exploding. And Andrew was showing me there's some names that are even doing 100x's here in the crypto space as we speak. So we always say there's always a bull somewhere. So if anything, if you're a crypto fan, don't lose that focus. This economy must grow. So then that means if there are places that are actually growing, they're going to get even more attention. So, all right. Does this? I think the deflationary trend is over. That actually ended the fall of 2017, winter of 2018. And now I believe we are now in a world of inflation again. It's going to be very low, not really that personified, and they're going to be talking about disinflationary pressures. But the deflationary world is over. I think it aligns perfectly with the millennial generation coming online. I've shown you guys these charts lots. So whoever asked this question, Bill, we talk about this stuff all the time. Over here, there is our... You can even see, right? This is my thesis of when the last fear cycle ended and when the new greed cycle started. And, this is the stock market. This is the baby boomers, what they did through their greed cycle. And this is what the greatest generation did. The one, or now they call them the silent generation. It actually looks to me like we're following more like baby boomers than silent generation. But we'll see how it goes. And then What's really sucky is that we've got Mr. Benner, who's reminded us that 2022, 2023 are not supposed to be good years in the market for risking. And then we've got guys like Shane who are talking about celestial cycles and how we're supposed to be making a massive shift. 6 different celestial cycles all coming to an end. So that's like your sickness cycle. That one came to an apex. What do you think? We got new respect for sickness in our society and silly human beings? Think so. The money cycle. The damn banksters pulling off the fraud of resetting the currency. We still don't, we still haven't even had our Bretton Woods event. My hunch is the Bretton Woods event actually comes about middle of 2022, maybe beginning of 2023. And that's the event that I think that the Fed comes out after Bitcoin goes to 100, 200,000, whatever. The U.S. regulators are going to come out and say, well, we believe that you should be investing in the U.S. Fed coin and not, Bitcoin or whatever. They hit the reset button. This generation's Bretton Woods. Maybe they peg the U.S. dollar to Bitcoin. Who fucking knows? But that's what I think's coming down the pike here. Then once we get that Bretton Woods event out of the way, then at least we know what the banksters' sort of plan is for our society going forward. And we can actually start really planning for the next growth cycle. Right now, I'd be very, very careful. Very careful, especially with the Benner cycle. I don't know where, going into the business of predicting where the top comes in, that's stupid. But, and I've told you before, if we do get our crazy ass move up top here and Bitcoin does this, I'm going to be selling a hell of a lot of crypto and going and trying to buying a house for Liam. And also, Sebastian, if you're watching this, we got to get going on that Lyceum. One of our site members has been building an NFT platform for us to get our Hawaiian retreat, sort of this not-for-profit education facility financing plan up and running. So, and I've actually, Sebastian, anybody else who's interested too, I've actually had a bunch of people sort of reach out to me and go, hey, what's going on, man? I want an update. I want to keep this damn ball moving. Let's get this damn place going. So there is still lots of demand, and people want to participate. So it's just a question of us executing. Also, too, so Sebastian's working away, and then Sjord, of course, is heavily involved in Luna. And I understand that they have a charity vehicle as well. So I'm not quite sure how we're going to pull this off. But if the market goes nutso into the end of the year like this, probably I'm going to be asking you guys to help set up this not-for-profit education organization because you're all going to be so stinking rich. You're going to be able to afford to. Who knows? We'll see what happens. Okay. I hope that helped answer. That's a hell of a lot of big questions. And, of course, we always talk about this over and over and over. Along with the weaker purchasing power of the U.S. dollar. Yeah, we're now back in the inflation world. We just went through the deflation world. You now have to change the tone the tune in your brain to I should now be expecting prices to consistently be rising. And I think I've shown you guys, I was going to go show you this, and for some reason I got sidetracked. But this is really what we should be expecting for our future. This right here. This is an image of consistently rising prices over the next 10, 15 years. This is what our next greed cycle should look like. This is Bretton Woods, right? Basically, you are right here, right now. We got to get through the Benner dip, you might call it. We got to figure out what the hell the currency base system is, and I think the Feds are going through that right now. I think probably through 22 and 23, they're going to clean up a lot of the excesses that I see developing in DeFi right now. We still got another 4 or 5 months left of 21 and the rest of this funny little bull cycle. Make as much money as you possibly can through this. As I said, Andrew was showing me that there's some names that his group are just going absolutely crazy. Can't remember what the symbol was. It was something like pay or something like that. I can't remember. So, take advantage of that. Try not to get too bag-holdy here. You don't want to get too loaded up on the long side or, buy new stuff come January, February, March. Because my hunch is that's probably the end of the move. Especially with the way the market's rallying here and putting in a base heading into the end of the year. That's so typical of these 4-year cycles. That when this base is into the end of the year and rallies and does this into the end of the year, that's almost a classic sign that we're near some sort of top. So, be forewarned. All right, let's keep moving forward here. Would USD continue to be the ultimate fear proxy in the upcoming years, or other commodities like gold or crypto would replace it? The problem here is what we're really asking. Remember, all of the fiat currencies, they're nothing more than just a basket. So they got some euros, some Canadian dollars, some Japanese yen, some Swiss franc, right? They're all thrown into a basket, and that is the US dollar index. So when we say that the US dollar is going up, we're not really saying that the US dollar is going up. What we're really saying is everything else is going down. Nobody wants to own anything else. They're selling everything and getting out, which means they're going into US dollars and into the US dollar index. US dollar index is going up because all the currencies, euros going down, Canadian dollars going down, Swiss francs going down, gold is going down, Bitcoin is going down, stock market is going down. They take their money out of all those assets and put them into U.S. government guaranteed assets out of fear that everything that's risk-based is going to get wiped out. I don't think that's the case right now because the U.S. Federal Reserve has basically said that we want you investing. We do not want you saving. So they do things like jack the system up, quantitative easing, keep prices up nice and firm. But that tide's changing. You probably heard, Jay. I thought it was really funny. There was somebody on Twitter was talking about the Bank of Canada and Bank of Canada policy and how it's entirely up to the Bank of Canada what the interest on the government debt is, and sort of the housing market, the forecast for that, and gee whiz, we really gotta get the Bank of Canada online here and rein them in. And I said to this person, do you actually think the market could give a flying fuck about the Bank of Canada? Come on. No doubt about it. U.S. Federal Reserve Board, the Bretton Woods people, the banksters all have made their bet and they voted in favor of the U.S. dollar system. I mean, you've heard all the bankers say that they think that cryptocurrency is a solution looking for a problem. And the banksters are more than happy with this inflationary pressure right now that's just going to do nothing more than just add a zero onto all of the prices. They are going to collect their percentage return, which is what they want. But the actual value of the underlying currency is meaningless to the bankers. They just don't give a fuck. And they don't even seem to have a problem with the value of the underlying currency just being absolutely decimated. They just don't. It's not even on their radar screen as a potential problem. I suppose the irony of it all is it will become on their radar screen. It will become a problem when the prices in a society go hyperinflationary. And then the banksters turn around and go, oh, yeah, I guess we couldn't get away with just diluting the shit out of the currency indefinitely. Who knows? We will see. So, let's come back and look at this over time. I mean, the way I would say it is, to all intents and purposes, commodities. The funny thing is about like gold cannot go up in value consistently if the US dollar index is going up consistently. Why? Because if the US dollar index is going up and trending higher, then it means dollars are being pulled out of the system. They're being pulled out of euros, they're being pulled out of yen, they're being pulled out of Swiss francs, being pulled out of Canadian dollars. That's deflationary, not inflationary. If anything, if you're a gold bug, what you want to hear is more brrr, more brrr, more brrr. And actually, like the Fed just did a $1.2 trillion repo the other day. Like it was fucking nothing. So you're getting more brrr, more brrr. But in a weird sort of way, this is the end of this story. It's not the beginning. The beginning for investing in gold and commodities was back in like 99, 98, 97. I mean, you couldn't give away gold then. You couldn't give it away. Now, of course, that's all people rave about. And it's ironic that gold really just hasn't done much in the past few years. All right, let's keep moving forward. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so to be rational in your investment trades, is there a minimum weight of the fundamental drivers to be met to consider taking that investment or trade? Well, no, because the weight is 100%. To be a good, rational investor, you first start with your fundamental screen and you only consider technical setups on those fundamentally justifiable names. That's a good rational investor. So what's the percentage of assets meeting fundamental criteria? 100%. Every single idea in your potential universe that you're going to consider trading setups off of must be a good fundamental idea. And if it isn't, then you're not, quote unquote, a rational investor. Do little old ladies, are they typically rational investors? Well, not really. I mean, maybe they, have an idea. I see this guy Alan on TV and he's really sexy and he's really hot and everybody loves him. So I just want to go buy a little piece of him. Does that necessarily mean that you're, maybe you're going to wait for a reload zone to start your nanny nibble program? Does that necessarily mean that you've done good fundamental analysis and Tesla's actually a good fundamental buy? Probably not. So don't intermix, by default, I'm a little old lady risk taker in the marketplace, and I am a good rational investor. That's apples and oranges. But if you're going to call yourself any type of rational investor, and this is where I get a little cross at some of TRI managers, because we bill ourselves as rational investors, but they blatantly come out and say, yeah, but I don't follow fundamentals. Well, how on earth can you be a rational investor if you don't even consider fundamentals? I mean, that doesn't make any sense. And, this is where I found it so funny that, 20, 30 years ago, I actually got into a fight with a guy. It wasn't a fist fight. It was a lawyer fight with a guy out of Minnesota because he called himself the rational investor down in the States. And yet, when you looked at his analysis, he wasn't doing any rational investing at all. He was just sort of talking out his ass. I think this is going to happen. I think that's going to happen. That's not fundamental analysis, folks. That's just your opinion. What are you guys saying there? I love little old ladies. Yeah, I mean, the good part about being a little old lady is you don't even really have to know the story. You just go, you know what? I'm going to throw 1% of my portfolio at this thing. As long as it's at or below a reload zone once every few months and just picks them up. And, hey, I got this broker guy who says it's a half decent idea, so I'll just go and pick some up. That's the way that I look at little old lady, sort of nanny nibble kind of approach. If you want to say, look at the only ideas that I can have in my nanny nibble plan are ideas that have met my fundamental screening criteria, well, you can start using that rational analysis kind of thinking. That works. But if you don't do any fundamental analysis, then really you're not a rational investor. It's just simple as that. So. Okay, there's negative fundamental drivers like FUD news. Well, and that's the thing. What is FUD? FUD stands for fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Ironically enough, none of these are actually like facts. Fear, well, that's just an emotion. Uncertainty, well, uncertainty means you're uncertain. I don't know. That's not based on fact. That's based on, I just don't know. Remember I said earlier, fundamentals versus known fundamentals. There are a lot of people that trade in the marketplace on what they think is real. Think of like Enron, for example. Everybody thought Enron was a profitable company. Nice try. Or how about Bre-X, the gold scandal that made it so that you couldn't give away gold in the 1990s. Everybody thought they were sitting on a big pile of gold. Nice try. So that's actually all about this. I mean, and doubt, of course, that's another sort of, I don't know what's going to happen here. So, ironically enough, FUD is all about not facts, unfacts, emotions. Do you change your notion of being in a trade setup if the fundamentals materially change? Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with that. Like for my VCIM model stocks, for example, right? I want to really try and focus in on a company that has relatively low shares out. There was a company actually that was in our wheelhouse, LAD. It started off with relatively low share count, but then they went and actually merged with another company. And of course, now you have stock in the other company. And I was like, I don't want to be involved in a merger. Now this other company's got like hundreds of millions of shares out. I have no interest in this. So I just walked away from the whole damn thing. Said, look, it's not my VCIM criteria anymore. I don't need to be in here. It's not like somebody's twisting my arm. So I just walked away. Also, too, remember, there's not really a right or wrong way to do this investing thing. The most important thing about this investing thing is your personal self-confidence. Do you feel confident? Maybe you know one of the insiders of the story. Right? It's a buddy of yours. You're invested in there. And you call them up and you go, hey, I bought this thing because you thought it was a pretty good idea. Are you guys still kind of gung-ho? And he's like, yeah, totally. Oh, this is just bullshit what's going on. Some guy's trying to screw us, right? Blah, blah, blah. I still believe in you, Bob. I'll stay with the story. There's nothing wrong with that. What is most important here, of course, is how you are going to handle the anxiety around all this. And this, ironically enough, I hate to say it, I've got 2 rules of investing. You all know that, right? Rule number 1, algorithm system, 2/3 accurate. If we can get into that area, awesome. 60-70%, love it. Second rule, risk management. Don't risk more than 5% of your portfolio on any one single idea, blah, blah, blah. So, of the 2, to try and ensure that you stay in this game, you stay alive in this game, Rule number 2 is way more important. It is the most important rule in this entire game. It's one thing actually I've seen out of a lot of TRIers lately. They've been talking about how long does it take to recover if you, say, threw 10% of your portfolio at an idea and you lost it. How many wins do you have to actually have? How big of wins do you have to have with the rest of your portfolio just to catch up? So, anxiety-wise, your absolute number 1 rule is reduce trade size until you have no anxiety. That might mean that, hey, you're only taking like 0.1% risk on a trade. But I'm chicken shit by nature. Yeah, I'm in Bitcoin. I got $100,000 to work with, and I threw $100 at the damn thing. I can sleep at night. I don't give a shit what the hell happens. And the irony of it all goes up 100x, right? You buy it at like what, $500, and it goes to $50,000. That sounds to me like 100x. So it can happen to anybody. That $100 now is $10,000. You took 1/10 account size risk, or 1/10% account size risk on your $100,000 stake, and your $100,000 portfolio has gone up 10% in value. So, rule number 1 absolutely should be you reduce the trade size until you are at the point where you don't feel anxiety. And that might mean taking it all the way back to paper trading and doing 100 paper trades just to convince your subconscious that this shit works. Once your subconscious believes, then I'll tell you, the anxiety, it just melts away. But, all new people to investing and trading, you don't know what the hell you're doing. So your anxiety level is going to be through the roof. And then, as I said there a moment ago, once you are up and actually trading like real size, good size money, just try and follow that 5% rule. It'll keep you out of a lot of trouble. And then that way, even if the idea goes completely belly up, it's a total disaster. Worst case scenario, you lose 5% of your portfolio. Big fucking deal. So, well, and that's a very good question. So Sil says, what do you do with your cash if you don't know how to trade or invest with all that inflation? Sil, I think it's really important for us to put this into context. We went through theoretically a period of sort of disinflation, and I might even argue deflation. But they kept it at the disinflation because, remember, this economy has to grow. We're not allowed to deflate, blah, blah, blah. Not even allowed to say that word. So try and understand that this isn't really a runaway inflationary environment, although it may seem like it. In a weird sort of way, yeah, I think you actually have to believe the gold price here. If we were in as bad of a runaway inflationary environment as the public kind of thinks, this gold price would be just ratcheting higher like crazy, but it just isn't. I think that commodities themselves, some of them, have vastly underperformed for a very, very long period of time, and they're just in the process of playing catch up. And then also too, people seem to focus in on one or two commodities. Things like lumber, but you got to understand, lumber by definition is an insanely volatile asset. It will go through periods of like 10, 20 years where it does nothing. And then all of a sudden, it'll just explode out of nowhere. So, here we're going back into the 70s. I mean, you could make the argument that we had sort of like this environment, and then all of a sudden you get this huge, insane rally. And then, kind of like, and I saw a lot of people in the public thinking this way. So through here, this was kind of like last spring in lumber prices. Everybody's like, hyperinflation, we're all going to the... But if you actually look back, what actually happens over the next 10, 20 years? So after this mark, do we have any more inflation up here? Well, actually, no. We never did cross. We got close. And then, of course, on a relative basis, we went quite down. So I get the impression that we just went through this kind of stuff. Huge spikes up. Kind of the market sort of stabilizing after a 10, 15-year period where a lot of these prices just didn't do anything. And now, of course, the public is completely obsessed with inflation. Is the public usually right? This is the worst part about this. If everybody in the market is thinking about inflation and they're worried about inflation, what do you think? Do you think that's actually the right trade or that's yesterday's trade? And I hate to say it, but me personally, I think that's yesterday's conversation. So had you positioned yourself back here to take advantage of that pump, awesome. You made great money. This is how I played that lumber market. I bought this thing, Resolution Force down here. Just made great money. Great. I mean, this was such a treat. But am I really expecting like $1, $2 up to $18, $20? Am I expecting that going forward? Not really. In fact, I might even argue that this thing's getting back up into sort of nosebleed territory where it's started running into a lot of resistance. Could we sit here on this kind of lumber stock, typical commodity, just banging around in this kind of environment for a while? I think so. Then also, too, maybe you do know, maybe you don't, but I follow this TIPS versus TLT spread. And I've been talking to you guys about this. Just basically my, what have I done here? Something's not right. Well, anyway, I've got this chart up. Here we are. That's this. So we've been through a period of abnormally low interest rates. Is this hyperinflation? Or is this interest rates just have to go back to normal? And that's what I think is going on here. This is not hyperinflation. This is interest rates just have to go get normalized. So believe it or not, Sil, I don't mind you actually sit in cash. Obviously, in a low interest rate environment, you want to be long some equity. Equity does very well. I think I've shown you this this chart just there a few minutes ago. Where the hell is it? How do I do that? Over here. Right? I mean, this is what our path is going forward. But more importantly, this is what I think is going to happen here. Does it make sense in a low interest rate environment? You're going to find that stock prices, along with land prices, along with food prices, they're just generally going to be bid up here. Well, actually, it's interesting, Andrew. Like, I make the argument that oil was front-loaded that cycle. I mean, look who was president of the United States from 2000 to 2008. Are they slightly oil-related people? So, I actually wouldn't be surprised if oil has to actually revisit those levels, which really sucks. But it wouldn't surprise me one bit. And ironically enough, as oil goes up and higher in price, that becomes an even greater tax on the economy, which is going to slow down that inflation push. I think I saw somebody over on YouTube page there mention earlier, what about stagflation? I definitely think we could go through a period of stagflation here. Absolutely. That would not surprise me at all. Interestingly, though, as we've said before, the Bezos, the Zuckerbergs, the Gateses of the world, right? In this period, no, not here. Yeah, this period. What do they call the big stocks and the indexes that just kept going up and up and up and up and up through this cycle? There was actually a very specific name for them. And my hunch is we're going to go back into exactly the same environment. Anybody know what they were called? Anybody's looking for a fun history lesson of the stock market, what were the darlings of the stock market called through this period? And I think that the Gateses and the Zuckerbergs and all them, they're going to be exactly that. Does that make sense to maybe, well, along those lines, Andre? They actually had a very specific name. Very good, Simon. Simon knows the answer. All right, let's see how we're doing on these questions. Hopefully I helped answer that rational question. Okay, can you explain how to use the dynamic yield curve? Well, actually, I think in the library, I've got lots of little videos that we did because we have a lot of people have asked about the yield curve over the years. Somewhere in all this. How markets work. Hey, there we go. So maybe go and watch these two. What is a bond and how do bonds work? So if you understand what the hell a bond is and how it works, that'll help. And then what is the yield curve and what does it tell investors? Also too, the TLT tip thing that I just did there. This is all about bond spreads. So these 3 videos should give you a pretty good understanding of how the money market works. And then what I like is dovetail that with, this is Ray Dalio's sort of explanation of how the banking system operates and how the money making process works and the money destroying process works. So I like for you to watch that following when, understanding how the bond market works. And then, of course, you can't understand money unless you've watched this Money Masters video. Once you watch this Money Masters video, then you'll understand that this is what goes on here and what's going on right now is nothing new. This is basically the same conversation we humans have had for like the past, easily maybe 2, 3, 4,000 years. Nothing has really changed in the way these humans work. And there always are these motherfucking sons of bitches that don't do anything. All they do is they just simply live off of this concept called interest, which is tragic. But it is a hallmark. What a beautiful analogy of how evil the banking system is. How often do you ever hear stories about Jesus Christ getting angry at people? Getting to the point of actually being violent. What? I thought Jesus Christ was the turn the other cheek guy. I thought he was the, don't throw stones in glass houses if you live in glass houses or however the hell that works. Right? I thought he was the nice guy. So you actually hear stories about JC getting angry and whipping people? I mean, I don't think there's a better analogy about how evil banksters are. And we'd all be a hell of a lot better off as a society if we could just get rid of these motherfuckers. But nope, we got the Joey Diamonds. So he whipped the Money Masters and soon he found himself nailed to a cross. Is that Brian's future? Sure hope not. Moving on. Ricky Bobby. I don't know whether you are here. I'd say here that we actually got a yield curve inversion warning about 2 or 3 years ago. So I think you could actually make the argument that the curve did slightly go inverted there, warning that this economic cycle was about to come to an end. Did it predict the sickness? No. Has the 1% used the sickness as a nice cover to camouflage a lot of their cheeky behavior? Yes. But I think probably the way that you need to look at the market right now is, like I said, the yield curve and a lot of economic measures were warning. It's, you know what it is? It's kind of like NVT on Bitcoin. I mean, you should all look at this chart. You should all look at this chart. I mean, let's do this in unison. Nice, friendly exercise for everybody. You should all look at this chart and be able to answer this to me very simply. Is the Bitcoin network healthy and operating efficiently at good levels? Thank you, Bill. You're the only one who'll say it. There's Paul. Thank you, Paul. Let's see if anybody on YouTube has the balls to actually admit the truth. This is what sucks about speculation. Remember Alan? Alan fucking circle jerked everybody there. And yet the irony of it all is that that stupid Dogecoin is like, it's like a third of what it was when he was going on this stupid that Saturday Night Live show. I mean, is Alan giving any of those diamond hand people back their money? I don't think so. I don't hear him saying he's giving back anybody any money. So, I mean, I don't know what to tell you folks. This is telling me that Bitcoin's not a good investment here. It's just telling me that, as simple as that. But nobody ever wants to hear that. All right. I was off on a funny tangent there. I'm not quite sure how I got off on that. Sorry about that, guys. When the yield curve inverted there and Mr. Trump was president and stuff, and there were lots of warnings. Cool Kelly Loeffler, remember all that nonsense, insider trading on the Senate, selling the top of the market. I remember that January. There was a massive call expiration. So basically it was something to the tune of like trillions of dollars that changed hands. Public bought the top of the stock market and institutions sold the top there. And then, of course, the whole fucking market collapses. But I get the feeling that because of the sickness, we have this kind of pseudo-economic scenario right now. Because of this sickness, the banksters and the politicians know, and I'm sure they're told, especially like the leaders of these countries, I'm sure they're told the day that they are elected, you have no power. Your country is 120% in debt. We own you. You do what we tell you. So, what a convenient situation. We have this sickness where you can mandate a complete collapse of the economy, which needed to happen anyway, right? Yield curve was semi-inverted, lots of warnings, the longest economic expansion on history. We needed a correction, we needed a contraction. So, what a coincidence. We have this wonderful, as Klaus said, Klaus has told us to our faces, let's not, how does the line go? How does it go again? Don't let a good crisis go to waste, or I can't remember. It's some saying, right? So these sons of bitches, they're using this as leverage against us. Sucks. Yeah, you own nothing and you'll be happy. And the funny thing is he wants you to sell. He wants you to go and borrow money. Get yourself up to your fucking tits in debt. Why? And, do not own anything. Because he wants to own it. Because he knows that this is what's coming. I find this hilarious. It's like this thing. A good financial analyst will simply say to you, hey, you know what? You probably want to try and own whatever the hell is making higher highs and higher lows here. And you want to try and avoid anything that's making lower highs and lower lows. But all these people are encouraging everybody to go into debt. Oh, float more debt. You'll do great. Oh, go borrow money. You'll do great. You listen to fucking Janet Yellen. When they're yelling, you should be selling, right? You listen to Janet Yellen. Borrow as much as you can. Borrow, 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 borrow. It's like, fuck off. Drives you crazy. And the only thing you should be buying here is the thing that's making higher highs and higher lows, which is equity. The one thing he doesn't want you owning, bastard. I tell you, man, it's all a fucking scam. It's incredible. So, but here's the problem. Like a good fundamental analyst looks at Bitcoin and says, this is getting a little bit risky. I mean, do you really want to invest in this? And what does the public do? Man. So, I mean, and I would imagine at some point there are some fundamentalists that go, you know what, the public loses money always. It's their own damn fault. They won't listen when you say this is not a good idea. So they deserve losing their money. That doesn't sell subscriptions. What you want to, and this is the worst part about this stupid human experience, is I want to buy my house. I want to buy my son, who's a low functioning autistic kid. I want to buy him a home so that he doesn't have to live in the system. He doesn't have to become one of Klaus's robots, which, if I just said, fine system, you look after him, he would. He would just become another cog in the wheel. And in those kind of situations, standard of living, they start collapsing, and you look back at 5 years later and you go, well, why did he get sick? Why did, these bad things happen? Well, why was he sexually abused? Well, it's because, nobody gives a shit. Anyway. So, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to give up my morals and just turn into fucking Mr. Circle Jerk shill and just pump you guys full of hopium and ramp up the subscriptions and ramp up the sales so I can get my son that house? What do I do? It's such a sad kind of commentary on this stupid human species. I'm not going to sell my soul. Sorry. This broadcast is not brought to you by Pride laundry detergent. And notice I did not say the name brand. I said a different name. I said Pride. But, gee whiz. I sure hope crypto does go apeshit, so the shit that I did buy can go and buy that house. But I'm not going to shill you guys and fill you full of hopium, Oh, I'm sorry. Well, Wild Man Mike says I'm going pretty hard on the sheeple today. Sorry, dude. I hope I'm not coming across as a shill. I don't want to be. Anyway. Okay, what do we got here? Okay, so we talked dynamic yield curve. Can you pull up any price chart of your choice and show us ranging versus trending? Well, I don't can pull up anything. Is it something you can see at a distance, quick glance, or a chart, or only when looking closely for breakouts, etc.? Well, the way that I would look at it is, and I, especially since we just did the TA module, what I would prefer to hear you say is the way I'm going to approach this is I'm going to take a higher time frame perspective and drill down. That's the way you should do this. So, let's take Ethereum here, for example. Well, no, what, do totally random. Somebody give me a random asset. No idea, no bias, nothing. Just somebody give me anything. Anyone? Silver! Oh, Jesus, you crazy silver bugs. Okay, so we're going to start. I would even start at like a monthly chart. And actually, we do this for the level 2 program. And we call it tricking out your charts. So I would start with your highest time frame chart. Let's make those the biggest, fattest lines. So right now, this is a trading range. I would also say that's a pretty important line. And we can even get rid of the volume here. And this is what we call tricking out your charts, where you're just going to go along and you're going to just make a note and do it time frame by time frame of the different levels. See if I can do this relatively quickly. And what you should notice is that price often pivots off the same levels repeatedly. It's not an accident. I mean, that's the whole point of this exercise. Horizontal support and resistance. So even now, just looking at this monthly chart, you can start to see ranges. I mean, look how many times we bounced off of this low here. Clearly, this is a pretty darn important level in here. Look at all those. We call that a cluster. So, right now, even just off of this very, very simple look at this silver market, you can kind of see that there are like pockets on the monthly chart where maybe that's a trading range. Notice we had all of these key lows. Remember, big cluster here. And we've got a bunch of sort of highs and lows in here. It's just off a monthly chart. So you can clearly see it's almost like there are ping pong zones. Look at this ping pong zone in here. It's wide open, right? So we call that a trading range if we're in here. I think we're kind of stuck in this trading range, where we have all of these key lows and all of these lows and all of these highs, and we're just bouncing in between here. We went up above it and asked, well, okay, well, can we accept up into here? Nope, get your butt back down, right? And now, and these are all these big monthly levels, now we can actually go change this to a weekly chart. Boom. All right, now off a weekly chart, let's maybe draw some levels, and we'll go say, I don't know, we'll make these like orange. So green was the monthly, and maybe let's even do this just a little bit smaller. Maybe like that. And you can go and trick out these levels. And again, remember what I said earlier, we're looking for those clusters, right? That sort of identifies support and resistance. If you have multiple times where a market goes into a level and gets rejected. So you can start to see this trading range is now really starting to develop. And interestingly enough, notice that, remember, this was that big monthly level. What a coincidence. That's just about exactly 50% of this range. Well, pretty close, eh? And I just sort of eyeballed this off of that there. I mean, hell, if you go off of there, it's almost exactly. Right? I'll go off of there. Look at that. It's almost right on. So you can almost kind of even see just now, we probably have a trading range that goes here. And there's probably a trading range that's up here. I don't know whether you can see that or not. And then, of course, if we fail through here, right, that will probably set up some sort of trading range down here. You could make the argument that as we blasted through here, right, boom, up through the top, how are we going to act at these resistance points? Right, that was this high, that high. Oh, there's another one in there we could have done. This was green, eh? So, the short answer is we go through the process. You start at your highest time frame, you work your way down, and you do this thing called tricking out your charts. And if we can leave ranges, and this is probably a good example right here, like this might be a weekly one. All right, so we'll do that orange. And 2, remember, we're on a weekly chart, so if we go down to, say, like a 1 hour chart, and I just done the weekly and the monthly levels. But can you see now sort of like, well, okay, looks like there's a W off of these levels here, and we work our way up. and we're just banging into resistance levels on the way up. And then, off of this, I wouldn't go more. And what we do for the class is I like monthly, weekly, daily, and trick out those. And what you'll find is that, you'll draw up your chart with a ton of levels. And then when you go down to like the 1 hour chart, and I won't do that right now, but when you go down to the 1 hour chart, like here, for example, you can see ranging, lost these lows, boom, into this level. Then counter trend rally back into this resistance, then lose this low, and then wow, bang, right down into this level down here. So the easiest way for you to see whether the market is ranging or trending is this horizontal support and resistance concept over higher time frames, drilling down to lower time frames. And what you're really looking for is, hopefully you can see, this is the concept we use. We call this confluence, where you have a number of levels. Clearly, this is an important level, right? Now we had a little bit of a level up there. I'm sure there was other levels we could have done. And then same thing on the downside, coming into all of these levels. Oh, what a surprise. Turns out there's a nice little, what do we call this chart pattern? Does it make sense that as we banged into this support, the market pivoted? If I do that, does that help you out? What's going on here? Yes, knees and toes. So I don't know whether that helps. I just grabbed this this asset just totally randomly out of the blue. But I would just simply say, like I said, and if you're in the level 1 program, you're not even at this stage yet. What I would just simply say is, first off, markets range 70 to 80% of the time. So here, for example, this to me looks like a really good example of a trading range. Market tried to leave to the downside and actually was quickly sucked right back into the range. Then we left to the upside, and we're going through the Wyckoff check right now. Do we actually start trending higher? How do you define trend? Market structure, higher highs and higher lows. The tighter the W, usually the more explosive the move. Trading range, trading trend. You can also see here too, like here, for example, you could probably make the argument that we were in this trading range for that time period, right? That's all range. Then we lost it and we went trending hard through here. And again, how do you define trending market state? Lower highs and lower lows, i.e. market structure. I would say by definition, you should expect markets to be in a trading range. And you should, at any given point in time, like I said, start at the monthly chart and just ask yourself, what's the big picture? What are the bigger levels? And actually, a guy that I used to work with years ago, Kenny Roberts, he would actually take a chart like this and he would say, all right, so this is the entire range. I'm going to break this now into quarters. So this will be 50% of the range. And this will be 50%. And now I have quadrants. Usually this works best on commodities. Stocks that are growth assets and they keep growing earnings, well, it doesn't quite work the same. But hopefully now you can see, well, I've got quadrants in this range. Oops, did I do that right? Maybe I screwed that up. These are supposed to all be equal, but I think I screwed this up. Is this log? Oh, that's regular. Anyway, what I wanted was for these all to be the same size, but it doesn't look like I did that right. Something like that. And this one's a bit bigger. Right, there, whatever. You get the idea, right? Boom, 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 boom. And notice, like here, see how 50% of the range? Well, at one given point in time, the market was at the bottom part of this range. And then now it spends a good portion of time in the top part. And then notice this quadrant here, well, that's those counter trend runaway highs. So you could argue that even within this top part, 50%, that there's even times when it was in the top quadrant and then the bottom quadrant. And it's just sort of banging back and forth. Very typical. Very, very typical. Probably also too here, great analogy of, do you see how market trending, very short period of time. Market ranging forever. Trending, very short period of time. My hunch is we're now going through this consolidation period, although all you silver bugs, you don't want me saying that. I wouldn't be surprised if we're doing exactly the same thing here. Right? Do you see the similarity? Sure looks like it to me. Am not what? I'm not happy at all? Sorry. Where's our triangle, right? I mean, theoretically, this should be about 10 to 15 years. I got a funny feeling you're going to see the same thing here. So, yeah, go figure. Actually, I mean, it's actually shocking how similar this does look. So, it's interesting, too, how this topped so early in the cycle, too. Right? 2011. So, we've talked about this before. How much of this bull market was siphoned off by things like crypto? I got a funny feeling a lot. I don't know. Is the person who asked that question here? I don't know whether that helped or not. Hope it did. This is Ricky Bobby. Ricky Bobby? Ricky Bobby, are you here? Bobby Ricky. Ricky Bobby. Okay, 1 o'clock. Got to go pick up the boy here in about an hour. So I think we'll probably leave it at that for today. Yeah, I think we finished these things off. Tomorrow, and today and tomorrow are kind of like holidays here in Canada. So it's a little bit kind of weird environment. I suppose it's Columbus Day down in the States. Interesting how the white man is continuing to get dumped on. We have one site member on the site who is absolutely convinced that this cycle is, well, maybe not convinced, who knows, is this is the world's opportunity to take a shit on all Caucasian males. And actually, it was really funny. I was even talking with another person who's of Asian descent. So you can't even put him in my category. But we were both joking how if there was an Asian that said something controversial and I barked about it being an Asian, that, because I'm Caucasian, that is racist. But if those Asian people make a comment about Karens of the world, that is not racist. Now, how does that work? Lots of little things like that make you feel as though there's some funny agenda going on in the background here. I think we should all treat each other equally. The great part about the market is the market doesn't care whether you're a male or a female or black or white or yellow or red or pink or blue. It just doesn't care. And really that should be our attitude. So maybe go easy a bit on Columbus here. He's not alive now, and I think a lot of the people of Italian heritage like Mr. Columbus. So let them have their heroes. And let's all, if anything, let's all just try and PMA. Have a positive outlook on the market, and how can we help each other? Versus all this division and separation and anxiety injection. So, All right, guys. Have yourself a good Thanksgiving holiday here in Canada. Maybe reach out to a local indigenous population and get to know their story a little bit more. I've told you guys this before. You know, there's great stories of the indigenous populations going to war with each other. And I told a funny story. I used to have a relative of mine who worked for the government agency in Canada, was called Indian Affairs, which ironically in itself is such an incredible slap in the face because they're not Indians. They're local indigenous people of North America. But he used to tell a funny story that if you added up all the land claims of the province of British Columbia together, it would come out to more than 150% of the land in the province. Why? Because all of these local native populations warred with each other and they used to murder each other right, left, and center. So it's not the way that Greta is painting the picture here, folks. Learn a little bit of history. Don't just blindly buy the bankers' bullshit to try and separate us and keep us at each other's throats. History's not like that. So. Okay. Wish me good luck with Liam. Thank you, Rachel. Appreciate that. Most important thing for me in my life is to make sure that this little boy has a half-decent life. I mean, really, that's the only purpose I have for my life, and to try and help you guys. But he does get priority. Really helps me a lot when you guys give best wishes. I think he actually gets a karmic charge out of it, because every time I ask you guys for best wishes, maybe I'm jinxing it now, but he usually is in a pretty good spirits. So maybe he feels your best wishes. That would be awesome. Pop on the site, of course. We got 30-day trial right now, so feel free if you enjoyed my rants. We got rants Monday to Friday from all sorts of different people. Professional futures traders, Daniele and Kiran, come in and talk to everybody about levels and day trading ES and gold on Tuesdays. We have our NFT and crypto over-the-top enthusiast, Julian, doing his baby powder report on Thursdays. He's super jazzed about all the gaming tokens and all that. Sjord, of course, he'll be on the call tomorrow, Monday. Hopefully we can get a little bit more progress on the website. I tell you, man, once this website is up and running, I keep teasing you guys about this, but once this signaling system is up and running, oh, man. But wow, what a case of patience and discipline. So we'll get an update from Sjord, and also too, Sjord is intimately involved in the Luna network. And one thing I really like about Sjord is he is really, really good at the tech behind all this stuff. He does great walkthrough demonstrations of how to use the Luna network. He's obviously a really big fan. So hopefully we'll get a report from him on that as well. So. All right, I think we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for your best wishes for me and Liam. Hope level oneers, you're enjoying the program. Other than that, I guess we'll leave it at that. Have yourselves a great rest of your day. PMA for the win. All the best, and bye for now.